like if you're listening and maybe you've been through this process of being like sober curious or just choosing to not drink or like going on some pauses, or you're considering that, relationships sometimes do change. And that's always interesting because like, was that really a friendship?
Right.
Or was that just someone who wanted a drinking partner to be on the same level as them? And when you make a choice to do something different, it's a threat, like you said, or seen as like a judgment, or like you're morally better. And like, it's not coming from that place, but it's perceived that way a lot of times, I think, because people are like that battle, that like internal battle that you were talking about of like, oh, there's like the shadow of like, I don't know if I really should like keep doing this or if I really want to. And so a lot of people, I think, do have that like in the back of their mind.
Yeah.
And then when someone makes a choice to do something different, it can feel very threatening to their own choices. And again, not that it's bad to drink, it's like inherently bad, right? But I think it can make waves, and sometimes in relationships when you choose to do something different.
Totally. I think like two things are coming to mind right now. The first one is like the thought of like misery loves company. And I don't mean like misery, but it's like, it's this thing that like can come up around food even. Like this is a thing that when someone's making a choice to like do something else, sometimes we perceive that as like a threat to, or like an insult of like, well, you should, because I'm choosing not to eat X, Y, and Z, or I'm choosing not to drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Then like I'm saying everyone should. And one of my favorite phrases about that and how to like approach that is like, nobody cares what's in your cup.
Right.
If I'm choosing not to drink, like I don't care what's in your cup, and you should certainly not care what's in mine.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like, you know, and then also like, I think sometimes there's the element of like the misery loves company thing of like and obviously like that's dramatic. That's a very dramatic phrase.
Although sometimes that I do think that would be applicable in this case.
For
Not all the
sure.
times, but like in the extreme cases of like, let's say someone is truly struggling with alcoholism
and trying to absolutely. And that's kind of like was my experience like with this friendship I had. Because I remember the first year we lived together, actually, when I still didn't drink, I had said like, because there were some moments where it's like, oh, let's go out, let's drink, like, let's do this. And I was like, oh, I'm really not comfortable drinking. And when the conversation came up, why? I said, because my dad's an alcoholic and like alcoholism like runs in my family. It's just not something I feel comfortable exploring right now. Like low key at the time, I was like, I am trying to recover from the last, however many years. And this person said to me like, oh, I don't think alcoholism is real. And I just remember being like, what the fuck? Like, come take I was like, no, that like, it was really crazy. And it also was like, it was really hard for me to comprehend at that age. I like didn't even know how to handle a comment like that. And then also like when I take a step back and look at it, I was like, oh, that's like someone who probably generationally is like used to this behavior and like isn't questioning it, or it's normalized to a degree. And like maybe it's not like volatile and toxic, but like from what I know it was. And so it is that thing of like sometimes people are threatened by our choices because like the world is a mirror.
It is.
And there's that element of like what's it reflecting back,
and I think that's a good point to bring up, just like in terms of handling questions, like how to handle questions from people, because I have found that a lot of times people do ask like, oh, do you want to drink? Can I get you something to drink? And I'm like, oh no, I'm okay. Or I'll have, water or whatever it is, whatever else that's being offered. And every once in a while there will be the question of like, oh, why don't you drink? And it depends on the person who's asking. Like sometimes I'm okay with like, sharing some more information, kind of like how we started this podcast, right? Sharing like a little bit more detail around my choice. And other times it's just as simple as like, oh, I don't enjoy drinking, or
I don't like how it feels.
I prefer to be fully present. And that's it. Like you don't have to give all the details. You don't have to say like, oh, I'm just, trying out sobriety for 30 days, or, oh, I, had a really shitty experience and so I choose to not drink anymore.
Right.
You don't have to give all those details. So, I think like when you do get those questions, just reminding yourself, like you get to choose how much you share. or how little you share. And then also remembering, like you just mentioned, of like the world is a mirror, like those questions aren't about you, those are about them.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's a question that's coming from like a place of judgment or like pressure, because
Yeah.
there's definitely a different tone when it's coming from that place.
Oh, absolutely. And it's really interesting how sometimes people are really uncomfortable, like socially with that. And
Mhm.
I think that that's one of the things that can be like hard for people. If you're like sober curious, right? And you're going out with friends who drink a lot and they're not like willing to respect, like, I just don't drink.
Mhm.
And they're like pressuring you. And so it feels like you can't like, it's kind of like the like, okay, well, I'll have one. Like that situation is unfortunately like I think way more common.
Yeah.
Even I mean, I've even experienced that in the last few years when I'm like, oh, I'm like literally allergic to alcohol. It's like, are you sure you just want sparkling water? I'm like, yeah, I love it.